Hey y'all, Max here, and welcome to July in Review. July wasn't all that crazy of a month, but we still got a good amount of stuff here, so we're going to dive right into it. Before I do just that, I'm going away in the next few days, so that's why this video isn't on like the last day of July. I'm not really expecting anything else, so this made sense to do it before I go away. And the other update is that I deactivated the game collecting Instagram account. Social media is kind of whack. I didn't enjoy being on there, and even though it's a casual collecting account, it still wasn't enjoyable for me to post stuff. So I guess because it was casual and not enjoyable, I was like, let me just stop this for right now. So I'm sure at some point I'll be back, but for now, that's not there. So just the YouTube account. I still have videos I want to make. I have some ideas, and hopefully you're going to stick around for them. But otherwise, let's dive right into it. So we got a lot of games here, but we have one not game. The one not game is the Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Masters Guide. So I referenced this a little bit in June in review because I got some Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards that, looking back, I probably shouldn't have bought, but that's okay. Some Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards that came out of Starter Deck Yugi and Starter Deck Kaiba that were released in 2002. So the Duel Masters Guide was as it sounds, like a starter set that was released in 2003 in North America that contained Starter Deck Yugi, Starter Deck Kaiba, this DVD, and Dark Paladin, a secret rare promo. But this DVD, its sole purpose was to teach kids how to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Way back in the day. Conveniently, I had the Duel Masters Guide. I want to say I got it around like Christmas time, so I remember having it. Don't have it anymore. Probably threw the box out. Don't know what I did with the DVD, but now I have the DVD again. And it was just cool to, learn the game that way. It's narrated by Yugi and Joey for most of the chapters. There's 7 chapters. The chapters are the prologue, preparation, card details, phases of gameplay, battle and damage, and more details. There's also a sample duel in here, a sample duel between Yugi and Kaiba using the included Starter Deck Yugi and Kaiba decks. And the sample duel is narrated by the voice of Joey. So it was really cool that they had, the anime included in, or like anime voices included in the DVD. So it was super nostalgic. As with most of the stuff here, I'm going to post a link in the description. The link in the description for this is going to be an actual dump of the video from somebody else. And I watched it again this morning. It's only like 36 minutes long, but it was like a blast from the past. I remember the voices. I remember Dan Green and Wayne Grayson talking about, the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG. So that was super cool. It was just cool to get this, even if I don't get the cards again. The DVD is still just a neat little trinket to have. So just some other random details about the Duel Masters Guide is we got it in 2003, but Japan didn't get it until 2006. So the TCG, so the OCG, the Japanese TCG, started in 1999, and it came to America in 2002. So 2002, Duel Masters Guide was released in 2003, so it kind of made sense. It was still kind of a new thing. But by the time that 2003 rolled around in Japan, most kids knew how to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Already. So the Duel Masters Guide didn't come out until 2006, when at that point it would have just been kind of like a promotional set. But nonetheless, still just a neat piece of trivia. So that's that. But on to the games. So if I can get my notes to work. All right, cool. So first system, as always, we're going to talk about some region locking and what that means. So region locking is just the ability or inability to play a certain game on a certain system, depending on what region it's from. So the first system we're going to talk about is the Switch. So the Switch is not region locked. That means I can have a Japanese Switch game, play it on an American Switch, or I can take an American game and play it on a Japanese Switch. None of that matters. It is not region locked. So I got a few Switch games. The first one is Gal Metal, the World Tour Edition. So this is a 2018 rhythm game developed by DMM Games and published by Xseed and Marvelous. It has motion controls, and your goal is to save the Earth from aliens, which is kind of funny for Gal Metal. So it features a fictional girl metal band called KMG, or Kichijoji Metal Girls, which is kind of funny. I don't really buy used Switch games, but I saw this and it was a good deal and thought it was funny and just had to go for it. So just kind of cool. It's got some other cool little trinkets, an actual instruction booklet, a manual that most Switch games don't have, but still pretty cool to have. Next is a game I saw at Too Many Games. And by the time I had gone back to go buy it at Too Many Games, it had already sold out. So I saw it at AVGC, which, if you don't know what AVGC is a very, very small vendor village. AVGC stands for a video game con, which in the past had been a bigger event, but as time has gone on and because of the pandemic, it became just kind of a one-day swap meet, if you will. So I saw this at AVGC and said, all right, I guess I got to buy it now. So this is Grapple Dog. Grapple Dog is a 2022 2D platformer where, believe it or not, you're grappling. So you're grappling, you're swinging around. That's the entire gimmick to the game. It's developed by Medallion Games and published by Super Rare Games, which is kind of like a limited run type of deal. All Super Rare games come in this kind of plastic container. It's got a little sticker in the back, some cards in the back. So that's a cool, neat little piece. I believe Super Rare only releases in PEGI format, not format, in PEGI ratings. So that's kind of cool too. But just another neat little thing. Another game that I saw at AVGC was the Outbound Ghost that I just thought was cool. Grapple Dog I thought was cool at Too Many Games. I didn't know what it was. It was cool and I wanted to buy it. Same thing with Outbound Games, except I only saw it at AVGC. So Outbound Ghost is a 2022 adventure RPG developed by Conradical Games and published by Digerati, and your goal is to help Ghost make it to the afterlife. That's about all I know about it. When I showed one of my friends who was also at AVGC about what I bought, he was like, oh, the Outbound Ghost. He was considering buying it, and so that kind of made me think like, oh, this is actually a good game. So kind of neat. So that's it for Switch. Going a little bit further back in time is the DS, and I didn't buy any DS games, but I did buy DS consoles. So before I talk about the specific DS consoles that I bought, just a little history behind the DS. So the DS is not region locked. You can play games from any region on any type of system. But the original DS was released in 2004. It was this fatter, uglier model that didn't have as good a screen. It still used the Game Boy Advance SP charger for reference. And then in 2006, the DS Lite was released, which was a slimmer version, better screen, all over, better console. And I believe it was for my 10th birthday in 2007. I think I was still in elementary school. And I remember getting my own DS Lite with Pokemon Diamond, and I played Pokemon Diamond for a really long time. A lot of my birthday was spent playing Pokemon Diamond, so DS Lite is one of those systems that I have a lot of nostalgia for. DS games in general, there's so many. So over time I've been like, okay, well, let me get more DS games. But also, I think a lot of DS Lite systems are very, very pretty. So I came across 3 at the store, and the trio of them was almost too perfect. So I decided to buy all 3, which is kind of a bad habit, but it's okay. There's a reason that the DS is the second best selling system of all time behind the PS2. So there's nothing special about any of these 3. It was literally just because of their colors. They're all in really good shape. They all work beautifully. So I'm really glad to have them. First one is a coral pink DS Lite. Again, works totally fine, looks totally fine. It's just pretty. I like the color. There's also a white one that is almost identical to this one, just obviously in white. And I do want to get the white one at some point. But the other 2, the first one is a silver one, and I didn't know there was a silver one. I had no idea. Never saw a silver one in my life. So I saw a silver one and decided to get it. Now the last one is a combination of the pink and silver. It is Metallic Rose. So Metallic Rose, I think, is the official name for it. I had grown to call it Rose Gold, which I know Rose Gold kind of makes sense. But now I have a pink, silver, and metallic pink Rose Gold DS Lite. So I now have 10 DSs in different forms. I think I have 1 fat DS, like 7 DS Lites, and like 2 DSIs. So you could call it an addiction, I guess. But now I have 3 more DSs. Moving farther back is the GameCube. The GameCube is region locked, so if you have a Japanese GameCube game, you have to play it on a Japanese system. American games go on American systems, and so on. Thankfully, I have a few Japanese GameCubes, so I was able to test my Japanese GameCube games I got this month. So without further ado, first one is Luigi's Mansion, or in Japan just Luigi Mansion. Luigi's Mansion was a launch title for the GameCube in 2001. It was developed and published by Nintendo, and it's the second title in the Mario series where Luigi is the main protagonist and Mario is more or less not present. The first one was Mario is missing from aeons ago. So initially it wasn't well received because it wasn't like a Mario game on the GameCube. The first Mario game I think we got on the GameCube was Sunshine. So this one was not initially well received because of just what it was, but it ended up becoming one of the best-selling titles in the entire on the entire system, which says a lot. So your goal in Luigi's Mansion is to play as Luigi, going around sucking up ghosts, and that's it. It almost doesn't need an introduction. Most of the games I actually have here don't need an introduction, but Luigi's Mansion, nonetheless, still really cool. There was a remake for the 3DS, and there was another 3DS title, I think Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, and there was also Luigi's Mansion 3 on the Switch, which I think I have too. So, just kind of cool to have a classic title on a system I grew up with. The next one is Metroid Prime. Again, another game that doesn't really need an introduction, but Metroid Prime was released in 2002. It's an adventure game in the Metroid series. It's the first 3D Metroid ever, developed by Retro Studios and published by Nintendo. And this is considered to be one of the greatest games of all time, which I sort of knew. I knew it was one of the greatest games of all time, but like one of the first things in the first paragraph on the Wikipedia page is that it's one of the greatest games of all time. So that's kind of cool. Metroid is one of those series I didn't really grow up with, but as I got older, I've learned to appreciate it. So Metroid Prime is just one of those really classic titles that I needed to have, and I got it for a really good price, so had to get it. There's a remastered version on Switch that released kind of surprisingly just this past year, or within this year, Metroid Prime Remastered. So if you don't have a GameCube but you have a Switch, maybe Metroid Prime Remastered is for you. Last but not least is definitely a weird one. That was Japan exclusive. It is the Nintendo Puzzle Collection. And before I move forward, because I forgot to mention this, Nintendo Puzzle Collection and Luigi's Mansion I got from Rewind Arcade at AVGC. I'm going to link them in the description, but if you ever happen across Rewind Arcade at a convention, please go support them. They are fantastic. I will also link to their YouTube channel. He does a ton of retrospectives, so I strongly recommend checking out Rewind Arcade. So Nintendo Puzzle Collection was released in 2003, and you guessed it, it's a puzzle collection developed and published by Nintendo. It has updating graphics and multiplayer features for just some classic puzzle games. So the first one is Dr. Mario 64. Surprisingly, Dr. Mario 64 didn't release in Japan. We got it here in North America, but the original Dr. Mario was on the NES. So Dr. Mario 64 was an updated version of Dr. Mario on the NES. And since Japan didn't get Dr. Mario 64, that's the first title on Nintendo Puzzle Collection. Second one is Yoshi's Cookie, also on the NES, but I think it was released for other systems as well, including the Super Nintendo. So cross-platform release, cross-generational release. Was released in Japan, so it was just included on the collection. And the last one is Panel de Pon. So Panel de Pon is one that not a lot of people know. It was known as Tetris Attack when it was brought to the West, so that's how we know it. But the original Panel de Pon was a Super Famicom game, kind of like an RPG puzzle game. And there was a sequel that went unreleased for the N64, and that's what is on the puzzle collection. So the West never got that Dr. Mario 64. Japan didn't technically get that Dr. Mario 64. I'm sorry, that N64 remake or sequel. But the sequel was reworked into Pokemon Puzzle Challenge. Pokemon Puzzle League on the N64. Pokemon Puzzle Challenge is on the Game Boy Color. But it's essentially the same game, same mechanics. But we did get that. We got the Pokemon version of it. So that's kind of cool too. So that's it for GameCube. Moving farther back is the N64. N64 is also region locked, where the tray where the cartridges fit just don't fit games from other regions because the cartridges are shaped differently. But I have an N64 from Japan, multiple N64s from Japan, and I also have my American N64 that has a region-free tray in it. So if for some reason you wanted to play a Japanese N64 game, it's a pretty easy quick fix to be able to play them. So the first one is Tamagotchi 64, and if you've seen a video in the past, maybe in like season 1, I did get Tamagotchi 64, and this is actually the third time I'm buying this game. So I bought a copy of it, a loose copy of it last summer. Then I thought I didn't have it because I didn't see it on my list of games that I do have. And then I bought another copy because I stumbled across one. And then I got home and realized I do have that copy. So then I had 2 copies. But then I saw this one at AVGC and it was complete. And so I decided to buy this one too. So I now have 3 Tamagotchi 64s. I gave one to a friend and then I have another one. But Tamagotchi 64 is just a party game from 1997. It was developed by Bandai and Hudson Soft and then published by Bandai. So if you're unfamiliar with Tamagotchi started in 1996. They were these tiny, tiny, tiny little handheld, basically virtual pets that you had to care for. So this is just a party game relating to that series. I believe there are Tamagotchi elements in this game. And there was also a spiritual successor on the Wii, which is also a party game. So I have it in Japanese, but it was also released in the West, the party game on the Wii, the Tamagotchi party game on the Wii. So a little confusing there. But most interestingly about that Wii title is that it was the only Tamagotchi Wii game to be released out of Japan, which is kind of neat. So it just kind of happens that we buy games more than once. So the next game is a game that actually reappears from June in review. So in June, I got the Star Fox 60... Hold on. Wait. In June, I got the Lilat Wars N64 game, which is Star Fox 64, but released in PAL. It was changed to Lilat Wars just because of some wanting to avoid confusion. And at some point further in the past, I don't remember if I ever put it in a video, now that I'm thinking about it. Did I do a main review? I don't remember. But at some point, also in the past, I got the Japanese Star Fox 64 Rumble Pack bundle. So finally, in July, we have completed the trifecta. I now have Star Fox 64, the Rumble Pack version that was released in North America. So not a lot I'm going to say about Star Fox 64. It was released in 1997. It's a sequel to the original Super Nintendo game. Same stuff as I said last month, that it was re-released on 3DS. It was reimagined for the Wii U as Star Fox Zero. It was developed and published by Nintendo. But at least now I have all 3 Rumble Pack versions, so say what you will. And last but not least, like I said, July was a pretty light month. This one is weird. So in June, in China, to celebrate an anniversary of the chicken nugget at McDonald's got the license for Tetris and decided to release a handheld, including Tetris. So it came in this little bag, which comes in this little box. And then, last but not least, lo and behold, we have our chicken nugget Tetris game. When I initially found out about this, I was like, I have to buy this. How do I not buy this? It is so funny. It's hilarious. It plays pretty well. The buttons could be better. My understanding is that you could buy it from McDonald's separately. It was $4. I paid $25 for mine, got it from overseas, but mine was brand spanking new, which is pretty cool. But it's really just silly. We'll just let that happen for a few, and then it plays. So I think it's just really funny. I saved it for last because I don't know what you classify it as, but it's definitely one of the coolest yet still funniest things that I've ever bought. So that was the big one for the month of July, and now I can play Tetris on a chicken nugget. So that's it for July. Not like the hour-long June in review that exists, but that's it. Thanks so much for hanging out. If I have it my way, I have a potential crazy idea coming up soon for this channel. Nothing catastrophic, just hopefully it happens. But otherwise, I appreciate you guys hanging out. I hope I taught you something, and if not, I still appreciate you being here. So otherwise, have a great rest of your day, and hopefully see you for August in review.